BlogTalkRadio, the world's largest online radio network.
We are now live with Irene Bedard, and I am Vincent Schilling, the host of Native Trailblazers. Thank you for tuning in. It's a Friday night. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, Irene, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. I was fortunate enough to meet you, a couple weeks back in Williamsburg, and I have, seen a lot of stuff that you have done in film and acting, and, of course, one of my first instances was seeing you as Suzy Song in Smoke Signals, the incredible cult classic of Native American res life by director Chris Eyre. And, I was taking a look at your IMDb profile, and my gosh, you have done so much work, and you have done so many things as a contributing Native actress. It's just unbelievable. And now there are some other things we're going to be talking about tonight, too. So I cannot say enough how much I'm thrilled to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and so where are you
all the way on the other side of the country.
Yeah, I know.
In Alaska.
Yeah, you were calling from Alaska. So now you were born in Alaska. So what was it like growing up in Alaska? Because I've heard a lot of stories. In my studies and my journalism, I've met a lot of people. I remember some folks telling me that when they grew up in Alaska, maybe it was even 40 years ago or 50 years ago, there used to be, it used to be so loud in the springtime with the animals in Alaska, at least the sections that they were in, that they had to, scream at each other. And, so I don't know how it is now. Honestly, I've never been to Alaska. It's a place I've always wanted to go.
It's beautiful. I love it. I grew up here. It's where all of my family is, on my mother's side, of course. You get the feeling that you're just a little tiny human being on the face of the planet, and it's a beautiful place. Right now we're having the long light days, and it's really wonderful to go out and see everything in all of its green beauty. And it strikes me too. I was walking by someone's garden the other day, and they had rhubarb, and I didn't recognize it, but I would have recognized it years and years ago, because that's what rhubarb looks like to me, just huge from the volcanic ash in the soil and the long midnight sun. So the vegetables here, fruits and vegetables here, are kind of dinosaur-like looking. They're really big.
Dinosaur-like, that's funny.
Well, yeah.
I have to ask you, when you do what you do as, an actress, now this is what I see as essentially someone who watches movies, watches television, and I see that the work that you're doing. The force that you've always done in terms of an acting person, just in my perspective, is you come across very consoling, very calming, very easy energy in your acting. Is this the characters that you draw upon, or are these the types of roles that you like to do, and that's kind of what you gravitate towards?
I don't really gravitate towards those types of roles. I think it's always been a combination of those things that you gravitate toward, and those people that gravitate toward you for whatever reason, whether it be that they are looking for you for that role, or maybe they've even written it for you, and so it's a combination of both of those things.
Mm-hmm. You recently did a really interesting role that I was fortunate enough to interview you for Indian Country Today Media Network, and that video will be posting very soon, about the beloved woman, about a kind of a strong person, and you said some really wonderful things about the strength of a Native woman and how it was probably confusing to colonists at that time, but Natives were a huge part of colonial history. It's just not really talked about a whole lot. Can you say some of those things? I thought it was really very insightful, some of the thoughts you kind of said about it.
Well, the beloved women, women in general, have played a very large part in the council of Native culture in general. Very matriarchal in a lot of ways. Whether it is a matriarchal culture or society or not, there are generally in most and maybe even all Native cultures, there's a huge influence of feminine culture, I guess is the best way to put it. And in the beloved women in the Cherokee way, they often fought in battle alongside the men. They stood in council and decided whether there was going to be peace or there was going to be war. That nothing was done without the final word from the beloved women, the Gigua. And so basically, to play Nancy Ward in this role that I was doing was something that I just very interesting little half an hour piece about a council and spoken of in terms of whether they should go to battle or not, and the role that Nancy Ward and the beloved women play in it. I think that's an undertold story. Is the role of women, Native women.
That's nice. And we'll throw into the mix, of course, you were performing alongside Wes Studi, another acclaimed actor. You know something I've always wondered, Irene, can you tell me this? Because, okay, here I am. I'm a journalist, right? So I am in the spotlight. I do this radio show. And by the way, folks, thank you so very much for all of your support. I got a ton of kind words this week, by the way, towards you, Irene, and people really wishing you the best, and thank you so much for all the work you've done. And, Michael Boucher's in the chat room now. Says, thanks for having Irene on. She's a humble and genuine person. Dolores says she's an amazing woman for sure, strong and brilliant. So you've got a lot of people on your side. But here's something I've got to know. Here I am as a journalist, and I meet people like Irene Bedard. I've met Wayne Newton. I meet Wes Studi. But is there ever a point for you where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting Wes Studi? Even though I know I'm in the spotlight and I'm prone to meet these folks, there's still a part of me that's kind of like, I get to meet folks. I don't know. I'm just curious.
I mean, there have been. I think basically most actors are studying nature, and I think most actors have a tendency to be shy, the shy side to it. So I guess I understand that and know that, and I really don't have that a lot. But yes, there have been people meeting Buffy St. Marie. I burst into tears.
Oh wow! Yeah.
There have been. I remember during the Pocahontas premiere and getting my picture taken with Jodie Foster and just thinking how amazing that was. Wow. I mean, there are, of course, times in life, but I think for the most part, I don't have a tendency to, and we're all human beings.
Well, good for you, because I still get kind of geeky sometimes when I'm like, can I take my picture with you? I mean, come on, I have to take my picture with you and Wes.
I got to meet the original cast of Willy Wonka.
Get out of here.
I was silly, yes. It was just cute, fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, and here I was looking at, because I knew a lot of some of the things you did as an actress, and, even go as far to say a Native actress, and there are a lot of things you have done along the Native side, of course. The voice of Pocahontas for Disney, my gosh, wow, it's amazing for working with Disney. But you've also done other things. You've got in pre-production now something that you were telling me, Vertical, that sounds pretty amazing. Folks, keep an eye out for Vertical. If you'd like to talk about it a little bit, you certainly can. You're also remember you mentioned Timberwolf, and then I also know about, of course, you did a pilot with Longmire, Young Justice. But I was looking through some of the things, and I saw that you did a lot of, like, really fun, like, voiceover things. And you were on the Spectacular Spider-Man. I was like, wow. Because I am, like, when I was a kid, I was the biggest comic book nerd, and Spider-Man, you know, essentially raised me. But you've done all of these amazing, you know, Cosmic Radio, Love's Long Journey. Gosh, you know, a lot of people strive in life and just hope they can get even a sliver of what you've achieved. How does it feel to be in this position to, you know, done this level of work and now where you're headed to in the future?
Well, I love doing what I do, so I've always felt very, very blessed that I have a chance and have been given the chance to do animation, to do films, to tell all these stories of different women. I love it. It's fun. And that's, you know, what I'd like to continue with Sleeping Lady Waking Giants. And really now just looking forward with the work that's already been accomplished. I think has been very, very good, but I think there's so much more to do, and we have so many stories to tell, and I would really love to sort of turn the tides and put it to a place where, okay, maybe we have looked at a lot of the historical issues that face Native people, the contemporary issues as well. What are the solutions? Where can we go? What you know? How can I think through the inspiration of self, we inspire others, and our stories can become are universal and can be universal. It's portrayed in that way. Inspiration is for everyone.
Yeah. God, inspiration. Yeah. Considering, you know, I look at myself as a journalist, and I always feel as though I have a responsibility as a Native man to portray Native issues in as positive a way as possible. You know, and you are in another very high-level position yourself where you're very visual. People see you, so you have these roles, and that must be a lot on your shoulders. What was your most challenging role?
My most challenging role? They all have their own challenges, and whatever the reason might be that I might have had to come to the set and realized that there were inconsistencies or historical inaccuracies or portrayals that weren't exactly three-dimensional. It might have been that. It might have been 3 pages in Lakota. That was a challenge.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
You know, everything that you come to, and when you come to a new role, you're approaching it a whole different life, and it might even be a completely different century, different tribes, and what you know, different language. I think that there's the consistency in it is being a woman and maybe being indigenous or Native, but I think other than that, that each role poses a different challenge, and that's kind of what I like about it.
Right. You know, I think of what you're saying, and you know, seeing 3 pages in Lakota or these challenges where there might be inconsistencies, and something that comes to mind is, you know, MTV did a couple years back an episode of the Dudesons, and you know, they brought in a Native elder, and they wanted to be Native and this and that. And I heard, you know, that he didn't know everything. You know, Saginaw Grant didn't know everything that was happening, and you know, he tried to do as best he could. And you'd think, you know, they would have been a little more respectful to him, but you know, things happen. You know, people have their stereotypes of what they think Native are. Taking into account these stereotypes that follow us as Native people, have you ever gone into a film and seen stereotype to the point where you just kind of raised your hand up and said, "Excuse me, let's put on the brakes here"? Just curious. I mean, that must be very difficult because, this is a job.
Well, when I get into the West, Spielberg made it very easy. They made sure that there were Lakota historians, Lakota translators, Cheyenne translators.
Mm-hmm.
The work that was being done there and trying to make sure that it was historically accurate was they were doing everything they possibly could do to make sure that was happening. Then you go on some sets and it's not even something that was even occurred to the production company at all. Like they just somehow assumed that Cheyenne songs from 1890. Somehow it was channeled into you, but so it really is an interesting array of what you're going to run into. And my whole take on it has always just been to approach it as like an ambassador. Just, okay, well, let me look at this and let me help you to figure out how to make this better. If I can make it better for you, I make it better for me. I make it better for the Cheyenne in particular, or whatever, So it's really just a matter of looking at it in terms of an educational process,
right? And
not so much like, oh, look at what you've done. You've done this, terrible thing. It's a lot of times it's just done out of just not thinking about it. But we all do our best, and that's what you can do.
Has there just been times where you just kind of bowed your head and shook your head like,
Yes, there have been. But, so, actually...
Well, I don't want you to cut anybody down, but, I'd love to know why.
Why?
Mm-hmm. Like, what have people said? Have you faced racism?
I've faced that in my life, yes, that's for sure. But I think for the most part, if someone's doing a film or a television project that involves you and they hire you, they have a tendency to not be in that shape.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think people who take the time to include Native people in the media are generally not going to be the kind of people that are going to have those kinds of issues. But still, at the same time, which is why Sleeping Lady Films and Making Giants is focusing on the projects that feature Native people, is because there's not a lot of chance to have Native programming, Native representation in the media. And nice. I was really glad to be a part of Longmire, too. They're going to be continuing on with that storyline. But there's more to be done. We don't have representation in the media in general. And so, and I think, but in particular, positive messaging, positive role modeling.
Nice. Now you noticed, things about these people. You just say things in a way that, I don't know, the things you say just come across as not pushy. I think a lot of people may not know how to treat either a Native issue, or people may think, producers, directors, may think that doesn't everyone know all the traditions of all Native people. And the way you're talking about this now really kind of gives me the feeling that you approach this very gently, but still respectfully. And I think that, I guess for lack of a better term, Hollywood, quote unquote, is lucky to have the contributions that you've made, because some people go about things maybe a little bit too volatile, and I think that the Creator has set you on this path because you can approach things in a gentle way. And I appreciate that, really, that we essentially have someone out there who's kind of sticking up for us all, Now, Irene, you just mentioned, and I know that you said you wanted to talk about your new production company called Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giant Productions. You had mentioned this to me a little bit in Williamsburg. And you just touched on it a little bit, but if you'd like to, please tell me about Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giant Productions. You told me a wonderful story on what that meant, but I'd also like you to tell me about your production company and what you're expecting to do with it. And you also, I believe, you had mentioned Thom Denomme is going to be part of the equation as well.
Yes, he is, and he's here. Unfortunately, the number that is on this is actually not on. I have no speaker on it, so.
Oh, okay.
But yes, Sleeping Lady Films. Sleeping Lady is Mount Susitna here in Anchorage, and I'm born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska, and I'm a Nupiaq on my mother's side from the village of Koyuk. Mm-hmm. And Sleeping Lady's been a story that I grew up with, and everybody here in the Matanuska Valley and the Anchorage area know the whole story about Sleeping Lady. And to make a long story short, basically, the world was inhabited by giants, and there was a great love, and there was a great war, and she was so saddened by it, she fell to sleep and vowed not to wake until peace was on the earth. And so all the mountains are the giants that fell to sleep until peace was on the earth. So that's what Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giants is. And for me, what it is it's taking a traditional story and making a larger meaning out of it, something that for all of us, for the world, I think that we have so many beautiful things to contribute to our universe. We already do it. We do it on in social media and the web, and we're amazing at that. We're the best doers of social media out of probably any other group in the entire planet. So, we really do have the chance to be waking giants right now, and say what we want to say, and give it to the whole world. We have that possibility, and we just have to do it. And so that's what I'm doing.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic. So what if I am an actor or an actress, or I'm a writer, or I'm someone who likes what you are doing, because I know that you were saying how you want to... well, first of all, you said that was something that was really funny in Williamsburg. You said, I've died in so many films. I'm tired of being the, and the Indian died, and so you wanted to take that and embrace native-oriented storytelling in film and productions. And so if I am someone who wants to be an actor or an actress or a writer or a director, or I want to let you know about, is there a way that we can contact you? If there is a place we can contact, what if a kid on the res wants to get in on what you're doing? How can we either build up our life, like with study, or get in with you? What do we need to do so that one day I can work with Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giant Productions? What do I need to do?
Well, our website will be up hopefully at the end of next week.
Oh, okay, great.
That's Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giant, SleepingLadyWakingGiants.com, sorry.
SleepingLadyWakingGiant.com. Okay, great. Well, people download this show for the next forever, so that's perfect. SleepingLadyWakingGiant.com. You heard it, folks. So in about a week, and today is Friday, August 17th, so about a week, or give or take a little bit. Websites can get a little tricky sometimes, so if it's not up, check back.
They do, yes.
Okay.
But yes, and, we have a full roster of things that we hope to get off the ground very soon, but right now Thom Denomme brought over Reservations Not Required.
Nice.
One of the great things about working with him is he's from Canada. I'm from Alaska, and we both have connections through Hollywood and all the way up to Canada and all around Native country, and so we'd love to be able to tell as many of the most inspiring stories as we can. So that is where we're at.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's exciting. Sleeping Lady, WakingGiant.com. That's such a great website name. That's perfect. We can definitely something to remember. And like Irene Bedard says here, she will have, there are things posted on there to check it out and definitely see. It's about doing wonderful things and, supporting those of us who want to do things that are of Native descent, or, even anyone who wants to get involved. It's just a great site. You were saying, Irene, we had discussed this before, that the media, or rather Native people in media, Native people in film, Native people in acting, we're running out of Native people, and we need to do what we can to start a new generation of actors, actresses, writers, directors. You really started to delve into this a little bit, and I would love to know your thoughts on that. I think you said it was a conversation with Zahn of Longmire.
Say that again. What is the actual question?
The question was, you were saying how we as Native people, are doing what we can to get in the mainstream, get in the media, get into Hollywood, get into all these things, and we're running out. I think you said you were talking with Zahn on Longmire about how we're running out of Native actors. And, essentially, what do we need to do? How can we encourage a new generation to get out there and attempt to brave the elements of Hollywood, so to speak?
Oh, no, I don't think that I think that's actually taken a little bit out of context. I mean, it's not
okay.
that
Please. Well,
it's not that we're running out. It's just that the pool of Native actors is very small. It's a small world. We're
right.
The population of Native people, of course, is smaller, but it's a small world in terms of having a pool of Native people who do this job. So yes, I mean, I've always encouraged our young people to get involved in theater or drama or debate in school, and then if they have a like for it, to do community theater or theater in their local community in some way, shape, or form. And if they really, really love it, to continue on and go to college, study it, or make the effort to seek out their film commission in the state they live in and find out, what projects may or may not be coming to their state. And that's one of the things that's great about Alaska is the film commission is really doing some good job, doing some good work, and we're excited to be up here. I'm excited to be home. And to be shooting some of the things that we see in the state of Alaska, depictions of the state of Alaska is sort of Cold, Deadliest Catch, and Ice Road Truckers, which are great shows. It's just there's so much beauty in the state of Alaska, and there's 239 tribes, and there are rainforests and oceans and seas and there's so much wildlife and the largest mountain in North America, and it's a beautiful place, and I think it has a lot to offer. And
exactly, it's not just a big iceberg; it's beautiful.
Right, it's not just a big iceberg.
And that's what a lot of people think. It's unfortunate, and it's true. Every National Geographic special has, the boats of Alaska driving along the icebergs. That's all you see, and then the white sea lion and the polar bears, or excuse me, not the white sea lion, but along the icebergs, and you'll see, just the animals of the area. Not polar bears, but just, I don't know. It's just not accurate. I remember I was talking to Sarah her last name escapes me, but she was telling me about how incredibly beautiful it was, and it was green and animals everywhere, and how just absolutely spectacular it is. And I was like, God, that sounds fabulous. And she's like, oh my gosh, Vince, it's gorgeous here. It's amazing. And I just would love to visit sometime. It just sounds fantastic. So, hey, Irene, we are just a little bit past the midpoint of the show. I just wanted to go over just a little bit of Native news. And, you know, of course, I always talk about the RPM FM download of the week, but we are going to go ahead and do the RPM FM download next week. So make sure and stay tuned. If you want to check out some great Native music and indigenous music, go to rpm.fm, a fantastic website. And we'll talk about just a real quick couple stories here from Indian Country Today Media Network, ictmn.com. So, Irene, just give me just a couple minutes, and we're going to go ahead and just talk a little bit of Native news at the midpoint of the show. We will be right back with Irene Bedard. She is an amazing actress, producer, filmmaker, and really thrilled to have here on Native Trailblazers. If you want to follow the show, Native Trailblazers, on Twitter, it's Native Trail, BLAZ. You can follow myself, Vince Schilling, the host, and Schilling is SCHILLING on Twitter. And our creative director, Dolores, DEL Schilling, SCHILLING. Follow us on Twitter. And Irene will be back with you in just a couple minutes. Thanks for being on the show.
It's time for Native News with Vince Schilling on Trailblazers Radio.
Time for some Native news. And, of course, I always look at some of the stories on Indian Country Today Media Network. Really some amazing stories this week. Make sure to check out Indian Country Today Media Network.com or ICTMN.com. One of the most interesting stories of Rob Capricioso, he's just a fantastic journalist. He's a Washington, D.C. correspondent. Controversial liens has been removed from the Cobell settlement after intense scrutiny from tribal interests, Indian appellates, and U.S. Congress. The U.S. Department of the Interior has agreed to use its authority to waive a controversial lien program that became part of the Cobell settlement during the U.S. Congress authorizing process in 2010. It says the lien program was never supposed to be part of the Cobell settlement, but it was somehow slipped in by Congress, perhaps with malice or perhaps by mistake, according to Indian-focused and tribal officials who have closely monitored the situation. And it says, you really have to be watching every step along the way to see what the government might be trying to pull over, said Chris Stainbrook, president of the Indian Land Tenure Foundation. In the end, we caught this one, and I was pleasantly surprised that the Interior Department took action in our favor, but I think this could have been done a long time ago. If the lien process had gone forward without Interior's intervention, it could have meant the agency would have been able to use a major part of the $3.4 billion settlement to tribes, that's $1.9 billion of it, to create a new revenue stream for itself without necessarily helping solve the problem of tribal and Indian land fractionation, which is what the money is intended to do. So definitely check out that story. There's a little bit on that story on Indian Country Today Media Network. Looks like some good things have happened there. Good job, Rob. Also, there is another couple stories on there. I was taking a look at support grows for activist's lawyer in the Arizona Snowbowl case. And if you are not familiar with the Arizona Snowbowl, the Sacred San Francisco Peaks is a peaks that are really held sacred by, several nations, and they're intending to use wastewater, essentially sewer water, not 100% cleaned at all, folks. It's pretty horrifying to the story on it myself. But it says a coalition of high-profile attorneys and activists are rallying around a lawyer who's under fire for suing the U.S. Forest Service to stop snowmaking with wastewater on Sacred Mountain in Arizona, the Sacred San Francisco Peaks. Howard Shanker, a Phoenix-based lawyer, represents Native activists fighting to keep Arizona Snowbowl near Flagstaff, Arizona, from using the reclaimed effluent to make snow at the high desert resort. No fewer than 13 tribes consider the San Francisco Peaks sacred, and their members have long opposed the mountain's use for a ski resort. But when Arizona Snowbowl proposed in 2005 to use reclaimed wastewater to make snow, and the U.S. Forest Service approved the plan, opposition reached a fever pitch and touched off years of trials. So it's definitely something to be concerned about. Absolutely. So, and one more thing I just thought was very interesting. It's still on the same story, just a little bit, but it's another story in Indian Country Today Media Network. Of all people, this was very interesting to me. Ralph Nader and friends petition full panel hearing on the sanction of the San Francisco Peaks attorney. So consumer advocate and former presidential candidate Ralph Nader and a group of individuals and nonprofit organizations interested in protecting the sacred San Francisco peaks from spiritual and environmental degradation have petitioned the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals for a full panel rehearing of the recent ruling. So more stories in Indian Country Today. Definitely check those out, folks. There are a lot of other stories on Indian Country Today. Of course, the interview I had with Miss Irene Bedard will also be on Indian Country Today Media Network, as well as their work, her work with West Studi, some information with West Studi, and other things will be coming up. So definitely check that out on Indian Country Today Media Network. So it looks like we have a call. Irene, are you still with us, my dear friend?
I am.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have a call in the chat room, and, I actually kind of held up on calls tonight because I really wanted you to be able to have your say, but we have a call in the chat room, and, in the phone lines, so we will definitely take this call. Caller from, it says, the 111 area code. Caller, you're on. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Vincent. This is Michael Busher. Hello, Irene.
Michael Busher.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell your listeners that the words you're hearing from Irene right now are so genuine and true. I had met her a couple, 3 years ago at the Native American Music Awards. And, when you meet people who you suspect that, are, smoke signals and all of the things that are icons in Indian country, you don't know what to expect, and it possibly, I guess I do expect. I have a image set in my mind. It's like, but Irene Bedard was so humble and so nice and kind and down to earth and very genuine, and it's like, okay, cool. This she's a normal person, just like we are, And I just wanted to tell your listeners that it. Listen to what she's saying, because I heard her words when she said inspiration for all of us, and it is so true. And it's good words, but it's spoken from a person who means what she says, and I just wanted to say that, and I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
And true to form, she responds with a very quiet, timid, humble
yes.
thank you.
Well, that's fine. That's all I wanted to say. And I just heard your news. I wanted to thank you also, Vincent, for keeping up with the San Francisco peaks and the news on that, too. So
yes, absolutely. And, we talked a bit about that, quite a few shows about the sacred San Francisco peaks, and, Cleve Benally of the group Blackfire is, this guy is diligent and doing tons of work for them. So definitely check out protectsacredsites.org in honor of Tamara Brennan. We'll do a shout-out for her, for sacred sites. And, of course, your video, Sacred Ground Extended, which Sacred Ground itself talked about the sacred sites, and you're really caring about that, as well as Bear Butte as well. So, Michael Busher, 3-time NAMI winner. Brother, it's always great to have you on the show, of course.
Thank you. I just wanted to shout out to Irene and all your listeners that she's very cool, very down to earth, and she talks the talk and walks the walk. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you.
Well, there you go. Definitely Michael has actually, I've talked to him about you before, and he's said the same thing about how kind you are, and it's very impressed with your work. So, Irene, what Michael just said kind of, inspired me a little bit, saying someone who walks the walk and talks the talk. And, you have always said there, always, but meaning the conversations you and I've had a little bit, you say you care very much and you have a lot of passion for the causes that you care about. And one thing that came up that you were discussing with me were Violence Against Women Act, Women Act, and advocating for the importance of reaching out to our public officials and telling them about that. What are some of the things we can do for the protection of our Native women and the protection of our women in this world, period?
Well, I think it's important to just sort of start off with this conversation, basically, is that right now is the time. If you have a story, if you know someone, if you know if it happened to you, whether you're a man, woman, child, if you have a story, or if you know of someone who has a story, if you have a vested interest in this in any way, shape, or form, now is the time to write those stories and send them into your Congress people, send them into your legislators, U.S., your governors, your state, all of them. Right now, the reauthorization is up before Congress. It's gone through the Senate and through the House. I've been following this along with the National Women's Resource Center and the National Congress of the American Indians. And if we can get this through to the legislators at this point, that as it has passed through the House, as written, it takes the language out for our Native women. It takes the language out, and it also, not only does it do that, but it sends the Violence Against Women Act back in years of this has been going through reauthorization, and it's being filed. It's taken it back. It's taken back the finances, the financial support, and so write your letters, write your stories, say how this is important. Violence against anyone, anywhere is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to support also what, Irene, what you're saying is if you want to, there are a lot of support for if you want to write to your congressmen or to your governors or to your city officials or to your state officials. I really would suggest, like you said, the National Congress of American Indians has a lot of resources on their site, a lot of the issues going on, and that's ncai.org. That's NCAI, National Congress of American Indians.org, and they literally have like a toolkit for writing to your congressman. And don't ever listen to what Irene is saying. Don't ever underestimate writing a letter to your senator, to your officials, because they do read them. They do. They want to know what their constituents, their voters are thinking. Very much so. Don't ever think that your letters go unheard, because they do not. So, Irene, we have another call on the line. Let's bring it in. This is 818 area code. 818 area code. Are you there? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Renee Haynes. I'm calling from Los Angeles. Hi,
well, hello, Renee. How are you? Welcome to the
Renee.
show. We're with Irene Bedard.
I am so thrilled to talk to you both. When I saw that Irene was on the show today, I thought I have got to call in and say hi and tell everyone just how dear Irene is to me and that she is a true success story. And Irene, I'm just so impressed with you know this, with everything you've done, but not with everything just that, but with who you are and what you're doing with your life now. And I just wanted to share that.
It's amazing, isn't it, Renee? It's amazing.
Yes.
She really is an inspiration to everyone.
Yeah, and not just as an actor, but as a person. And I just want to reiterate what you just said about it. You know, we all sit back and we think, oh, well, somebody else will write the letter. I don't need to. So many other people will be writing. I don't need to. It's important that every single one of us write the letter.
And, folks, just so you know, Renee Haynes really is known in Hollywood as the amazing, the awesome go-to person in terms of Native casting. I mean, she's like the mover and shaker in Hollywood for Native casting. There's a story I wrote about her in an interview in Indian Country Today Media Network. Fantastic. I got a ton of great comments on that. So I'm thrilled to have you on the show, Renee. But Irene has been saying, you know, that she is doing something for Native people from a production and filmmaking level called Sleeping Lady Films, Waking Giant Productions, that just sounds amazing. absolutely incredible. The concepts that she's talking about, and to bring this, positive things to light, because she's been killed in so many films, and she doesn't want to go that way anymore.
Renee knows. She, literally, I remember going to South Dakota and handing you my prayer tie, and my hands shaking, and that she's been doing this, been a supporter and a supporter of Native stories for a long while, and I've known just how much support that she does have for this and for all of us, and so she knows the number of times I've probably been killed on film.
Yeah.
That's where I aspire to be one day. I aspire to be a Native actor killed in a film.
Right.
Hilarious. Well, I have to say that having talked to the both of you, wow, what an honor that the two of you are on my show at the same time who care so much about the welfare of Native people in film and production work and television. I'm really kind of like, wow, what a fortunate place to be. Renee Haynes, who's always looking out for the best interests of Native actors and Native films, and now Irene Bedard, who has just done incredible things about putting yourself in the spotlight through the work you're doing, and now Sleeping Lady, Waking Giant Productions. That's just unbelievable. Wow. I'm kind of aghast right now. I'm kind of overwhelmed, to be honest with you. So thanks for I'm kind of feel giddy right now. It's kind of amazing.
I just wanted to call and wish Irene all the best. And I know it will be a huge success for her. And with that, I'm gonna let you guys get back to the chatting. But I'm really enjoying the show.
Oh, great! Thanks so much
Renee.
for calling in, Renee.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
It's very nice to hear from you.
Boy, you have support from everywhere. We had Michael Boucher from Wisconsin. We had Renee Haynes. She's in Los Angeles. You're in Alaska. I'm in Virginia. Boy, we're just getting out there, aren't we? We're everywhere. So, what's to come in the future? What are we looking forward to with, Irene Bedard? You're doing such amazing things. What's to come?
The first thing that we are getting off the ground, I believe, at this time is Reservations Not Required. Mm-hmm. And that's it's a Navajo chef. He's a cordon bleu chef. His name is Freddie Bitsui. Mm-hmm. And he actually add another state to the mix. He's in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
And Reservations Not Required. He's also a cultural anthropologist. So it's part travel show, part cooking, Native culture, Native traditional indigenous foods, and this goes above and beyond our love of fry bread and Indian tacos. This goes back to a lot of the for instance, when he came up to Alaska, mm-hmm. there was walrus liver, goose,
oh my gosh,
clams, and seaweed involved.
Wild.
In Arizona, we had, cholo buds and saguaro, cacti, basically. It was
Wow.
So,
I'm loving agave. I've been eating tons of agave these days, so I love it.
Agave is
from
good for you. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
and
good.
There are a lot of these superfoods that are coming out onto our shelves now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, come because indigenous people have known about them for the beginning of time.
I know. So. It's like this big, like everybody else is like, oh my gosh, wow, and meanwhile, Irene's in Alaska going, look, we've known about this forever. That is great.
I think there are a lot of things like that.
Yeah. I'm just so excited to see, so you got Reservations Not Required, and do you see yourself staying in Alaska shooting a lot of stuff, or you see yourself traveling all around doing things in Hollywood or
reservations not required is, a travel. It's part travel show too, so it's going around.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All the U.S., Canada, South America, go down to Maui. People. I mean, we want to travel the world with that one. So I'm excited about that.
That is just great.
And yeah. But also, we do have shows that are being shot in Alaska as well. Doing some film work up here with Radio Films, some television projects, some really great positive stories, and then there are shows that will, of course, be part of the lower 48 as well. You lower 48 people.
That's fantastic. Hey, Irene, we have, my gosh, I cannot believe it, but we have just a little bit less than 5 minutes in the show, so, my gosh, that went quick, really fast. But I'd like to ask you one last thing, is to say if maybe, because a lot of res kids listen to the show, a lot of folks listen to the show in Native communities and things, and I have to say thank you so much. We're getting near 30,000 listens to the show. So I'm getting very excited when I announce that number. But if there's someone out there looking up at you, maybe things aren't so positive in their favor, you know what I mean? And they may feel, wow, boy, I could never achieve what you've achieved. What would you say to them?
I'm just a girl from Alaska. I think everyone has their challenges in life, but Native people are pretty resilient.
Yeah.
We're still here. We're alive and thriving and moving forward and actually taking a lot of our beauty into the future with the coming generation and all the work that we can and will do now. But I guess to that person, there's always someone that you can look into their eyes and they will give you their hand and help you.
Wow.
And there's always going to be that person, and you just have to look around. They'll be there.
Man, I wish I could have heard that back when I was like a little guy, maybe alone in my room or whatever, feeling sad, or but I would have loved to hear that. So that's really wonderful to think that there's going to be a voice there's going to be your voice that's going to touch that person in a positive way. That's wonderful advice, Irene, because you're right. There's always someone willing to help.
Irene Bedard, also just as a person on the other part of that too. I mean, one of the things that we have to think about for our youth is if you see somebody who's struggling, if you see somebody who's having a hard time in whatever way that might be, don't think that you may not be able to do anything literally. Simply smiling at somebody and telling them that you're there and that if they need to call you in that moment, that you be that person, then be that person.
Exactly. Oh, that's great. Yes, you're right. You're right. And stop hating, haters. Love, man. There's enough out there for all of us. There's enough abundance for everyone. Come on.
Love
come together.
Good, yes.
Irene Bedard, I cannot say thank you enough for coming to Native Trailblazers, and I really want to wish you everything. And can you keep us updated on what's going on? And we can post updates on the show, you better believe.
Sure will.
All right. All right, Irene. Well, enjoy Alaska, especially these long sunny days that you're having now. And I cannot say enough. Thanks so much for coming on to Native Trailblazers.
I'm excited. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, folks, this has been a wonderful show. Very thrilled to have Irene Bedard that was on the show. A lot of folks that have said some wonderful things. And, of course, Irene, we will stay in touch, absolutely. And we will be a voice for you. Anything that you want to put out there, you better believe we'll put out there for you. Want to say that, definitely. You have a voice from this point. Anything you need to say, we will help in any way. I'm also a journalist for Indian Country Today, so, anytime I can help with that as well. Dolores in the chat room says, some really nice things about you. She said, so proud of Irene, excited to see what's coming. We're strong. Michael Boucher says she has an incredible singing voice, so we may have to call you back on the show to kind of give us some examples. Choctaw Cowboys has been enjoying the show. Very impressive. Aho, Dwayne Wynn, Horse Dreamer. So you got some folks out there really supporting you. Folks, this is Vincent Schilling. Thank you so very much for coming on the show tonight and hearing us and listening. If you're listening in the chat room, or if you're listening on a download, thanks for downloading us. You can go to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter, Native Trail, BLAZ. Follow me, Vince Schilling, or Del Schilling. We'll see you next week. We're talking about producing books and how to get your book published with my folks that have helped me at Native Voices Books. We'll see you next week, folks. Take care. Thanks so much for being on Native Trailblazers. Take care.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.